Hello there, welcome back to another video. I'm feeling fairly proud of myself. I think I've been keeping up with this whole weekly posting thing pretty decently, if I do say so myself. So this video is actually sped up very little compared to how much I usually speed things up. Like I would compare this closer to how much I'd speed up a traditional illustration, which I haven't posted in a really long time, because the original file for this recording was actually only 22 minutes and I've lowered it down to around 10 to 11 minutes. Let's say 10 minutes because I've also put like the final panning shot of the image and the outro card or whatever. So this is basically just double speed instead of like 30 times speed. A lot of the times I'll take like 5 hours of footage and put it into 15 minutes, while this is 20 minutes and 10. So I actually recorded this months ago. Like I recorded this in May, I think the beginnings of May, and it's a character, his name's Moratorium, and he's the original character in my friend Dark Petal 16's Harry Potter fanfic, and I just sort of felt like drawing him like a Moratorium story, which is also called Moratorium. That was the first Harry Potter fanfic I read, and I don't quite remember why. I just sort of wanted to experiment with the dark background and sort of a greenish light, and I felt like Moratorium would be a good character to do that with, and I ended up spending less time on this than I originally planned to, but it still ended up, like, now that I look at it way after the fact, it looks more finished than I remember it being at one point. And yeah, it's just sort of a roughly painted kind of thing. He wears a hat, he wears a scarf, he has like curly-ish hair, he wears a suit. I'm not sure if I included any other details besides that, because it's fairly simple bust, very cropped. I don't know what else to say about this actually. It's going so slow. Usually by this point, like, it's either a far more developed sketch or at least like starting to colours or line art or something, but this is, I don't know, I'm not used to. This is like a change of pace. I'm really good at rambling, but I'm running out of things to ramble about, so I'm rambling about not rambling. Oh my gosh, what's happening to the world? But yeah, this is, I wanted to try to experiment with actually doing a real-time kind of video or something like that on this YouTube channel, but if I'm running out of things to talk about with it just at double speed, I can't imagine with it twice. I was tempted to leave it real time, this video, because it's just 20 minutes, but I figured, oh no, 20 minutes is too long, and if I'm going to speed it up a little, might as well speed it up to like 10 minutes or something. Like most of my videos are usually around 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes ish, but like if I'm going to speed it up something, I might as well speed it up to the point of it actually looks sped up. So yeah, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so I decided to speed it up double time, but it still feels so slow. Oh. I might edit this and post it also on Instagram. Like, I posted the finished illustration on Instagram a while ago, but I might kind of edit the video down also to be like 1 minute long and post that on Instagram as well, because 1 minute long version of this, I've posted one thing on my Instagram. You can go look at. I also posted the video here. It's a couple. I'll put a link in the card actually, of my character Talia, and the actual illustration process I think was an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then I turned it into like a 12-minute video. But then I also edited it into a 1 minute video, because now there's this Instagram TV or whatever. But before that, you could only upload videos up to 1 minute long on Instagram, so I edited that video to put on Instagram, and I watch it back, and I'm happy I have that on there, because it's, you know, interesting or whatever, but it's so fast. But I think this video might look alright if I take it down to a minute. Might also be interesting to know that I made this, like, most of it's on one layer. I think that's why in the tab to the side you can see that I have the brushes panel open and not the layers, because I'm not flipping between layers as much as I am switching around my brush settings. Most of this, the sketch was with the regular hard round brush with opacity, what's the word? The opacity based on pen pressure, and then everything else was sort of with a chalk brush, and there's that gradient there, but I think I paint over it with the chalk brush just to unify the texture. I sort of do that fairly often, where I put a gradient in the background and then I leave that and then I start shading, and then later when I get bored of shading I kind of touch up the background a little bit, and I use brush strokes with the chalk brush or whatever brush it is that I'm primarily working with. I use that in the background to sort of make the background, because if you have this like smooth gradient and then this painterly thing on top of it, it kind of makes it look like they're two different things from two different, you know, worlds or whatever. But if you do everything with the same brush, even if it's a different sized version of the same brush, it looks more unified. And there's a sort of like, in traditional painting you don't have so much of this problem as you do in digital painting, because in traditional painting your medium unifies things for you and the natural lighting of your environment. So if you're outside you have natural daylight, or if you're inside you have your indoor lights and stuff like that, and that together with the textures and the physical quality to the medium you're working with, that does all the work of making a piece look like a unified thing for you. Even if you might only be looking specifically at a piece, you can't remove all the other context from it. Meanwhile, with a digital piece, it is what it is, sort of. You don't get any help in kind of the overall presentation of it. Anything that's in regards to the presentation or the aesthetic has to be deliberately kind of planned out by you. So I find that going over everything and most things with the same textured brush really helps unify things. And I had this problem a long time ago, well, not that long ago. When I first really got into digital painting, I was obsessed with custom brushes and textures and overlaying things and finding like a scratched metal texture or a jeans denim texture and using that on top of the colours that I'd put down. But then they'd end up not really looking right. It's like it doesn't automatically look like a pair of jeans just because I put a denim texture on top of it. Meanwhile, if I just kind of did some stippling or whatever with a paintbrush, it would give more of that texture in an overall acrylic piece or something like that. So it was a huge learning curve, and it was kind of monumental for me to discover that making things have the appearance of what you want with the same textured brush or the unification of stuff like that does a lot to unify a piece. It would have been good to know earlier on, but I know it now and I get to put that in practice, and I think it works out fairly nice. And I really like my chalk brush, and just because you use the same brush and you have that overlying texture does not mean that you don't use things like soft brushes or gradients and things like that. It's just if you have the textured strokes already in there, you can put like on a multiply layer and an overlay layer things you've done with a soft brush, and it will still look blended in because you have that foundation of the texture. And that's what I end up doing most of the time. I do like some basic shading, but then to push and pull and kind of add more three-dimensionality to things, I use a soft brush with the setting on multiply to add the three-dimensionality, because it's harder to pull off that kind of a gradient when you're just working with a textured brush. And there I am just like dabbing the background thing all over, and I did all the base colors on one layer and I'm doing all this overpainting also on one layer. You see on the layers section there's just the background, the base colors, the sketch lines, and then I'm working everything else over top. And again, I would have pushed it further. Well, basically done. I would have pushed it further, but once you like kind of take a step back from it, it looks fairly complete, I would say. So it's one of those things that like it's done when you feel like it's done, and you have to trust your gut when it feels done. And I'm fairly happy with this. This was a really good experiment, and I'd want to try to do another one of these like QuickTime paintings, maybe trying to push a perspective or something like that more, because it's quite simplistic, like a bust with a scarf, and like there's really nothing really challenging about this illustration, but it has its charm, I think, and this added layer of line art to just kind of put some more there was some lag from me drawing the strokes and then them appearing because computers aren't perfect. I also really like the values. Like the skin kind of shines out a little bit scary from how everything else looks, but at the same time I think it's sort of what I was going for. It's not as like green lit as I originally wanted it to be, But last week's video that I posted of Boku no Hero Izuku, that has a lot more of the fun lighting that I wanted to try at, so next week's video actually has some fun lighting as well, so you have that to look forward to. So I'm gonna start my sign off now. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this illustration or any of my artwork in general, make sure you check out my Instagram. I post fairly often on there, so there's a lot of stuff that you can see. Make sure you click like and you hit subscribe and you watch the other videos I have. On the end screen it'll be a couple recommended things for you to watch and the things I put in the card as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.